You're not dreaming. You're watching episode 2 of the Ghouligans. This is an audio commentary track by Mr. Lobo, horror movie host from Cinema Insomnia. These guys are doing a great job here, making you laugh, hopefully not scaring you too much. That's Void the Zombie, played by Sean Q. King. This shot is always different, so when you're watching the open of the show, pay attention to the last shot, because it always comes together different. This is the Mummy's Curse. The Mommy's Curse, I get it. Which is the name of episode 2. Kid tested, monster approved. That's a reference to Kix cereal.
So I gotta find a narrow fast. Fashion ain't free. Where my piggy bank at?
This is kind of a sitcom device, digging through the closet full of junk, a la Fibber McGee and Molly, I think, did that even in the radio days. The canned laughter is a reference to sitcoms and Sid and Marty Krofft. Apparently the laughter only happens in the castle set and nowhere else. Which perhaps they could have sold that a little easier. I didn't realize that when I watched the show initially. They could have had someone go outside and go, hey, there's no laughter outside, but when we come back in the studio, there's a laugh track. I don't know, maybe that would have been too obvious. But if you notice, that's a little extra something, is that there's only laugh track in the studio scenes.
Look at this mess.
In the castle studio set.
I can't keep up with all the stuff breaking around here.
If you are not a student of television, you might not realize that they're doing a parody of like a 70s kids show, like the Krofft Super Show. In 2008, they actually did something called the Ghouligans Super Show, which is directly referencing the Krofft Super Show. Sid and Marty Krofft were puppeteers. They also created kind of fabulous costumed monsters that were featured in Saturday. Oh, that's Count Farnham, who was in the Ghouligans Super Show, earlier version of the Ghouligans. So a little nod to him. Finding a map behind a painting. You know, this is a typical sitcom kind of device. Also would be a device on a Saturday morning kids show to sort of move the story forward. They've got a map. They have an adventure. You know, something like this might happen on DuckTales.
Cursed by the mummy who guards it. I ain't afraid of no curse. I say we get that treasure.
But what I was saying earlier, the Krofft Super Show, Sid and Marty Krofft, H.R. Pufnstuf, Sigmund the Sea Monster, they had a long run of popular children's shows with live action actors acting like cartoon characters. And these live action actors are acting very much like cartoon versions of classic movie monsters, like the groovy ghoulies from Sabrina the Teenage Witch. So this is a montage. This is a parody of the montage from the film Airborne. Even the music is like the song I'm Too Sexy by Right Said Fred. And so these kind of montages are very common in mid to late 80s films. They're trying to find their perfect look to go to the desert. So they're very fashion-forward monsters, so they're always trying out different. There's the punk rock version of Void, which I like a lot. Yeah, but they don't like it. So that's a nice look there. No, but not good enough. The hippie werewolf He really just looks like a hippie. Doesn't even look like a werewolf. It's a little too, yeah, not quite. Wow. You're not going to see this on a Saturday morning 70s kids show where you've got Frankenstein and drag. Yeah, they really don't like that. But they finally escaped this montage, and they are in their looks, their 70s, or excuse me, their exploration. They're ready to go to Egypt now. Go on their treasure hunting clothes. As you can see, Wolfgang is dressed as Indiana Jones. But we're going out to commercial now. And this is kind of, looks like something that might be on a dance program from the 60s. Now we're changing up again. This is another parody of a film trailer. As you remember in the first episode, we had a parody of the teensploitation or juvenile delinquent film Rebel Without a Cause. And now we are doing a 80s crime film. Scarface.
From eating sushi?
Something for the stoner crowd.
1980, the ocean, Miami.
If you're eating sun chips and watching Scarface over and over and over again, you might as well get something out of it. So you're gonna what you'll get out of it is getting all the references in this Scarface parody.
On land, you gotta get the money first.
This is their Creature from the Black Lagoon type character as Tuna Montoya or whatever. I can't remember if there's a joke with the last name too, but instead of Tony, it's Tuna.
You got the look in your eye.
But the Krill Grill is their Creature from the Black Lagoon character, and here he is playing Al Pacino's character in Scarface.
She likes me, man.
How do you know?
The girls, Manolo, they never lie.
Hey, Tuna, that's the boss's lady, okay?
I'm the boss! I am the big fish! This is my pond!
Again, they're showing their skills as filmmakers as well as sketch comedy performers.
Remember what I told you when we first started, Tuna? The fish who last in this business are the ones who swim straight.
Word on the street is you're no small-time guppy anymore, Tuna.
That's Sean Q. King, who is Void as a human.
We're doing 10 million, 15 million a month.
That's big time.
Who's gonna stop us? Basa.
For one brief
Mexican
moment,
standoff.
the ocean was his. But now, he wanted the world. Gill is Scarfish.
Say hello to my little fish.
Say hello to my little friends was the original line from Scarface.
Line and sinker.
And if you want to go to Hot Topic or Spencer's, you could get your Scarface poster. Whoa, now that's something else you wouldn't see on a 70s kids show. Main character putting a gun to their head. I don't know who this is, but he was in the Ghost Be Gone commercial from the first episode. I can't believe we're only on the second episode. I think I wasted all my energy on the first episode. If you're listening to this audio commentary from this first episode, from the second episode rather first, then I apologize, because I think talking for 3 hours straight was probably not something I should have committed to by myself. Maybe I could have had a couple more people in here with me talking about the Ghouligans. But anyhow, this is the same guy from the Ghost Be Gone commercial, but this time he's getting attacked by different monsters. He gets attacked by a werewolf, and now he's attacked by a zombie. And he's telling this story to his psychiatrist, who is shadowed in darkness Of course, we're waiting for a reveal with the psychiatrist, much like in the film Carnival of Souls, where the psychiatrist ends up being a ghoul. The psychiatrist ends up being a Frankenstein, or rather, a Frankenstein monster, if you want to get snobby. I kind of feel like the monster, the discipline, and the man are all synonymous. In Germany, Frankenstein is synonymous with monster. And this is what happens to someone who is attacked by a werewolf, a zombie, and a Frankenstein all at once. This is what happens to you. So in case you always wanted to know, that mystery has been revealed. This is Krill Grill. He is the creature, the Ghouligans version of the creature from the Black Lagoon, and he's dancing with the mermaid girls. They probably shot that on the same day they did the fisherman gag from the first episode. Here's another bump card, again, very popular in TV shows of old. Now they're in Egypt. Now I said before that Indiana Jones was what Wolfgang was dressed as. Boris is obviously dressed as Lawrence of Arabia. For those of you who have classy taste in motion pictures. And for to go even more obscure, Void is dressed like Dr. Livingston. I don't know if you've ever heard the format phrase Dr. Livingston, I presume. But he was a British explorer in East Africa, a missionary. There's always sort of in the old cartoons the missionary being cooked by cannibals in a giant pot. That's usually how they're dressed, is like Dr. Livingston with the pith helmet and the khaki short sleeves. This is the mummy character, Bob the Builder. Reference to the late 90s Nickelodeon Nick Jr. PBS show.
What do you got to curse? I'm just kidding. Hey, who told everyone they could stop working? Come on, we got an empire to build. Get back to work. Bob? We're looking for the jewels? The family jewels? No. This is a builder's tomb. You're gonna want the tomb right down there.
Great. Another wrong turn. Thanks, Void.
Wait,
I actually think Boris looks great in the Lawrence of Arabia getup.
Imotep?
Emo? I avoid that guy like a plague of locusts. I mean, let's just say he's a bit of a drama queen. We got a saying around these parts. Save the
Imotep.
drama for your mummy. But seriously, that guy's bad news. Is that where the treasure is? He was kind of wealthy. He made most of his fortune in medicine. And as it turns out, when you die, you can take it all with you.
See, he seems to be waiting for the audience laughter. It's too bad they're not doing this skit in the castle set.
Fellas, whose soul a guy got to suck to get regenerated around here, right?
Great. There's
Whose soul does a guy have to suck? That is kind of a direct reference to who do I have to F-U-C-K to get off this picture. That is, I can't remember who's attributed with saying that first, but that's a common Hollywood saying.
have any references?
References? You ever heard of Ramses II? Or my uncle, King Tut? We build high-quality stuff.
Well, we're kind of broke. And
There's a
we need
commercial
someone who can
later
work,
with
free.
Bob the Builder making pyramids, TV commercial with a pyramid building business, which I thought was, which I think is very funny. To look for later with this character.
Boris, this could totally work. Bob could come back with us.
Whoa. You can't come live with us. You're a mummy.
Come on, trust me, I'm handy to have around. I'll stick around till my powers come back. You'll never know I'm there. Plus, I could use the job.
Yeah, Boris, this could totally work. Bob can come, he could fix up the place, and we're running low on toilet paper, so we both win.
Like, I haven't heard that one.
This is a nice set. I don't know if this is in the same place as the castle set. I do know that the castle set is modular, and they reuse a lot of, those walls are reusable.
I'm gonna go warm up the camels. Yeah. Bye. Well, that's all.
Again, Mr. Lobo did not work on this show. In fact, I don't really know these guys real well. I've gotten to know them now, working on the DVD, and they're nice fellows, but I did not work on this film. This is just merely my observations. We'll be right back. This is a reference to the 90s collection, MTV's Buzz Bin. A Nirvana reference. Collective Soul, Collective Ghoul, you get it? This is the famous Blind Melon music video, but of course now it's Blind Hellion. Eddie Vedder, you get it? So again, you know, the 90s were important to someone, so we're seeing a spoof of the MTV Buzz Bin collection. Belle Biv DeVoe, Wolf B and V, I guess that would be Boris and Void. Instead of Naughty by Nature, Naughty by Creature. Isn't it great to have someone over-explain the jokes to you? Wu-Tang Clam instead of Wu-Tang Clan. This is very ambitious, you know. Again, a lot of jokes here. These are sort of like cracked Monster Party kind of jokes with monster puns. Of course, I'm a horror movie host. We're no stranger to monster puns. And here are the Ghouligans, or the Gala girls, the Ghoulie girls, and it's Gia and Gina and Gia and Gigi, I believe. And it's getting her heart, getting his heart. She steps on, oh, that's a nice bruise on her thigh there. And, you know, crushes his heart and laughs at him. And, you know, poor old Void. I mean, he doesn't need this. But, again, he's kind of like the Charlie Brown of the group. And he's, like I said, his character is the most defined. I think that
the screen has never seen
probably my favorite of the three.
These are no ordinary creatures.
Now we're in a 50s horror film. This is could be late 40s. That's kind of a little bit like the werewolf. There's a little bit of Ed Wood in here. There's a little bit of kind of 60s horror, but this is a vintage horror film, vintage black and white horror film version of the Ghouligans.
The Ghouligans.
searching for hot blood, hungry undead with a taste for human flesh.
I wish they asked Mr. Lobo to do the voiceover for this. A lot of the drive-in movies, they had kind of semi-professional voice actors doing the nice retro concepts for their costumes.
The Ghouligans.
The fur vest on Frankenstein like Son of Frankenstein, and the plaid jacket like Night of the Living Dead. Now their castle is a pyramid.
Wow, these modern tools are incredible. Feels so rewarding to be able to use your hands and not all them slaves. I did it all by myself.
Hey, Bob, something weird happened. I woke up with all this acne all over the place. They're like open sores, man. What's going on?
I should have went into business on my own. But that Pharaoh, he's been taxing me blind.
Hello?
This is ridiculous.
They've got all these
Ever since we got
curses,
back, we've
plagues.
been hit with a new set of plagues every single day. You know anything about that, Bob?
If you've ever been to the Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum,
Remodeling complete. Do you like it?
anyone who has ever uncovered a tomb is always hit with
What are the neighbors going to think?
misfortune.
Turned our castle into a pyramid. Is that the only style of building that you know?
Whoa, I happen to know pyramid building style, ancient pyramid building style. I know all sorts of pyramid building styles.
Well, that's great, but do you know a doctor? Because these wounds aren't healing. They just keep seeping out pus.
Yeah, you know anything about curses, Bob?
Hey, whoa, that's not my fault. I don't deal in
I think
plagues.
they dropped their laugh track here which is too bad because I think that would have
No, but seriously.
kept this scene moving a little bit.
Where the hell did you get that?
I got this at the Pedigree Pub in Bark Avenue. It's the hottest collar in town. And chicks dig it.
Wow, it looks really expensive.
Void,
Whoa. That
there
looks like
is,
the jewel of Imotep. That's why you're all cursed.
he's got makeup on his makeup, which is really interesting to see.
That's a bunch of hot
Great. Wolfgang?
And then that is Wolfgang has got his trademark booze with him, which is totally toxic.
And besides,
They mentioned that a couple of times.
who's been messing with my booze?
Can't get drunk on blood, can you, Wolfgang?
This time is personal. Nobody messes with my toxic. Come on, ghouls. Let's walk like an Egyptian.
Walk Like an Egyptian, reference to the 80s song. Walk Like an Egyptian. Which was the Bangles, I think? I don't know. I'm trying to remember now.
Hey, Emo, it's Bob. Tutankhamun from down the hall. There's been a big misunderstanding here. We did take your jewel, but we got it. We're gonna put it back. We're gonna give it back.
Guys, I think this is it. I think we're done for. Put it back.
This is something that would happen, like I said, in a Saturday morning kid show. Having a Egyptian-themed treasure hunt.
Oh yeah, baby. Totally toxic. That's my brand. All right, guys. Well, let's head back.
Here, he just said it.
Start work on the new
Totally
room
toxic.
for my sarcophagus.
No. You stay here. You're definitely needed here.
As you see, Bob the Builder even has the yellow helmet, like the kid show character Bob the Builder.
Besides, these people need a good, hard-working mommy like you around here to keep things going.
Yeah. Well, I suppose you're right.
The old mommy mummy joke. We call those popsicle stick jokes. When I was a kid, when you'd eat a popsicle, there would be like funny riddles and things on the popsicle stick. They're always corny.
You guys.
You know, like what did the ghost say to the other ghost? I've got good booze and bad booze, or whatever. I never got any of those jokes. I thought because I was a kid. But when I grew up, I realized they were just corny. There's Count Farnham going up on the wall. Their old friend from the old Ghouligans Super Show days. They were black and white in 2008, and I saw those on the internet, and they were funny then, and they're funny now.
If you want nice things in life, you gotta work hard for them.
I know. Sometimes
It's nice to see them polish their act.
Wolfgang.
They just get better and better, tighter and tighter. Makeup gets better.
It was just calling out to me.
Humor gets better.
I saw it from this little dude with the big hairy feet. Check it out.
I mean, what these guys are doing is very difficult. This is
I love it.
very complicated for a low-budget show.
Sound the horn of Gondor.
So go buy their t-shirts. And so we end the second episode of the Ghouligans. This is Mr. Lobo. Thank you for letting me suck the magic out of another half an hour of hijinks. Please stay with me, if you will, for the third installment of my very tired and drawn out over explanation of what these fine gentlemen do. See you for episode 3, coming up next.